Hey guys, it's Jeff Burrows here, president of Expert Chemical and Supply. Welcome to another episode of the Masters of Clean podcast. Today we're speaking with Devon Griggs. She is the sanitation leader for Mondelez, overseeing the U.S., Canada, and Latin America. Now let's do this. Hey Devon, welcome to the show. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, Jeff. It's nice to be here today.
So tell me a little bit about how you got started in the food sanitation business and what you were interested in from the beginning.
Okay, well, I started my career back in the 90s. So I was, 18, 19 years old. And I actually lived in a college town. I lived in Madison, Wisconsin. And I had three jobs at the time. And I was interested in going to school, but because I was already working, I wanted to save money first. And I had learned that there was an opportunity for Oscar Mayer that was hiring down the street. And I decided to go ahead and apply. I was accepted. And once I got into the company and got to see everything, I was super excited. And honestly, it's not something that I had planned to do growing up. Never thought I would be in this field or this career. But boy, I got into it and I've loved it ever since. So that's kind of how I was introduced. I really love the idea of how things are made if you watch that show and you watch
Yes,
manufacturing and the
sure.
speed and the intensity there. But then you put an aspect of food safety into that. And to me, it's so fascinating. And it's just something that I've really been interested in since.
So talk about your role in the
Mhm.
beginning at Oscar Mayer. Were you a sanitation manager? Were you a supervisor? Obviously starting from the beginning. Talk a little bit about that experience and tell people obviously you've you know, led and grown since then, but talk about the early days and the rough times and
Sure.
the learning.
It was a rough time. So I didn't enter with a college degree. So as I applied for the position, I was looking for an entry level just to get into manufacturing. And I was a senator. I was a line worker in a union facility. I had all of my friends around me, and
Wow.
we were all assigned our areas. This was a meat facility, so with meat, you have lots of pathogen concerns, and there's things that you really have to be on top of. We had the USDA on site, so we always had to be on point. I'd get an area, I'd go into that area, and I would see it at the end of the day or the end of the shift. It would be 100% different because I made that difference. I cleaned everything and I was really, really proud of all the work that I did. And each day I took it as a separate challenge. I absolutely wanted to do my best. And when it was time to look over the line, you better not find one thing, right? So I
Sure.
was very adamant. So I think just demonstrating, my work ethic and caring so much and really enjoying what I did and learning the process and learning the early on chemistry and everything that you needed to I guess that base skill set. And then also working with your counterparts, it was a lot for me to learn, but it was so so critically important, and I carry a lot of those life lessons to what I do today.
And from Oscar Mayer, obviously you
Mhm.
transitioned over to Mondelez. Can you tell me the story? And I was really inspired about reading it, how you got started with Mondelez and the transition period and then to where you are currently.
Absolutely. So throughout my demonstration of how I worked and my work ethic being so strong as an hourly, I had the opportunity in Oscar Mayer in Madison, Wisconsin, to be promoted into a sanitation supervisor, and that was fairly early on to my career. And then after a while in that position, there was an opportunity to learn other categories. So I was given an
Oh, wow.
opportunity to move to Springfield, Missouri with Kraft Foods. And
Mm.
that was in 2000, I want to say, where I continued being a sanitation supervisor and leader and eventually got into operations. So my career is solely around sanitation at this time because
Hmm.
this is what I enjoy doing. But I
Cool.
do have, over the 20 years in the environment and in the industry, I have, the operations. I've been in logistics. I've been in numerous different fields within the corporation. Again, it was Kraft Foods up until 2012. And in 2012, Kraft separated, and we divided the company into domestic and craft, and then we had international, which was snack foods and Mondelez. So
Oh
that's how
wow.
I ended up with Mondelez.
Oh
And
wow.
throughout, from Springfield, Missouri, I ended up coming to Chicago Bakery here back in Chicago,
Sure.
and that's biscuit. So, I have cheese, dairy, meat, and biscuit all in my background as well.
Wow.
And that's how
So
I ended up with Mondelez. Yeah, I just kept on that journey and went international.
and talk about the decision that they offered you to, take a buyout. You decided to pursue
Mm-hmm.
your education and why you thought that was important and how that ultimately led you
Sure.
to your leadership position today.
So this is something that I will say is a little bit different. I know that there's many different career paths and different ways of getting into
Mm-hmm.
the industry and where people are. So when I started out at a very young age, and I say that because I didn't come in with a college degree, I felt and I knew early on it was important to get that degree. I mean, you want to
Got
be
it.
able to have that and be able to demonstrate that education is important. You're willing to learn and continuing with that throughout, whatever career path you choose. Unfortunately, I was working and I didn't want to just stop work, incur debt, and then
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of things going on. So, what I decided to do was, ever since I was in Madison, Wisconsin, I was going to school part time. I had
Mm.
mentioned early on, I had three jobs. I quit the other two,
Wow.
stuck with just Oscar Mayer, and I was going to school in Madison, Wisconsin. Once I transferred to Springfield, Missouri, and was with Kraft Cheese, I started going to Drury University. So I went to another school and I continued my education, transferring my credits and continuing my education all along my entire career. It's taken me 20 years to get my four
Wow.
year college degree. But what I've learned hands on in the industry trumps anything I would have learned in a college setting. What I've
Sure.
learned in a college setting just supports everything that I've learned with the hands on. Does that make sense?
Of course. Sorry, go
So,
ahead.
yeah. So in 2016, while I was working in the Chicago bakery, we had an org change. A lot of our volume was being shipped to a different country. And for
Sure.
that reason, our bakery size wasn't going to be as much volume as initially being produced. So, management at that time, I was the sanitation manager. And I was given an opportunity to either stay with the company or go ahead and take a severance and and leave. At that
Mm-hmm.
point, after going to school for so long, Jeff, I had five classes left,
Wow.
and honestly, it was very, very challenging. Of course, I'm a mom as well, and I had just had a lot of stuff going on in
Sure.
terms of juggling, and I thought, I could stay and I could definitely go to school and draw that my education out a little bit further, but now is an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to take a pause, get it done, and make sure I have all of my efforts and focus in the right spot. I didn't feel that I would be able to adequately provide my determination and my focus to both school and work at the same time, especially because I graduated with what is it, sum cum laude, whatever it
Yeah.
is, I don't know, highest honors, right? So, so
That's
my,
great.
yeah, so I had a 3.9 grade point when I graduated, and it was just because I got a C in theology. So,
And you don't have
anyways,
to worry about that for work
no,
now. So
it's not
that's,
part of my career, but
yes.
it was still sad. Anyway, so for that reason, though, that's what I had decided to do. And when I got my severance was able to also compensate for that last semester of school. So I ended up getting my degree, not really having a lot of debt, but because I've already established myself and I've already had my networks, my team that I've already, grown to know and absolutely respect for in the industry, I had an opportunity to go with Arista, which is another global corporation. And so in end of 2016, 2017, I started with Arista just for a year and a half, but I was the director of consumer foods for hygiene in the US.
Wow.
So that's kind of where I was able to get another level of experience
Yes.
in dealing with multiple sites across the U.S. Travel was definitely a part of that, and I got to expand again my working knowledge even further, and that was with Fresh Bake. So, and then, even pizza. So
Wow.
in that industry, I had opportunity to work with both FDA as well as USDA. And it was really a great experience. So it's kind of my story. After Arista in 2018, there was the position I'm currently in opened up for Mondelez, and I was offered a position if I wanted to come back and apply for what I'm currently doing, which is the section sanitation manager for North America and Latin America, back with Mondelez. So
Awesome. That's a great
that's
story.
that's where I'm at. So here I am, and I'll tell you one of the most things that I'm super proud of is when I decided to leave Mondelez. It wasn't an easy decision, right?
Sure.
It was a lot of soul searching and determining what would be best for myself, my family, how I wanted to handle
Hmm.
this. Um, so everybody that knew that I was leaving Mondelez knew why, and they
Sure.
knew that it was so important, and it wasn't because I was dissatisfied with the company. I've always loved the company, and I mean, I grew up in the company, so
Sure.
Mondelez and all the policies, everything in the sanitation build was really in my blood at that time. So when I came back, it was an easy transition to get back into things, and it's just been such a wonderful ride, and I can't be more proud. I have a great team in sanitation, and every single one of my team members are just as passionate about sanitation as I am.
Can you talk about, your responsibility, how many people, you oversee, throughout North
Sure.
America, Latin America, and how, give people an understanding or an idea how challenging sometimes it can be, when you're running so many manufacturing sites and when you're responsible and how you handle the pressure and make sure that your team is, continuing to provide top-notch sanitation at these sites.
Well, hands down, I couldn't do it without the support of my team that I have. I am overseeing, different facility sites, and I oversee for support, right? I don't have direct reports out there at each plant, but my team supports each of those plants. So we have plants in Canada down to Argentina.
Wow.
I have a team currently of five. I have two direct reports here in the U.S. I have one in Mexico, and I have two in Brazil.
Wow.
And every single one of my team members are very experienced, very skilled, and as I said, they understand expectations. We're very tight and very committed to each other and making sure that we all succeed. And of course, I try to drive that. So the development of my team is very, very important to me, and they know it. So
Sure.
it's just a really great dynamic. And in terms of like what we do and what we're trying to do for support for those sites is, sanitation for us is made up of the four components. So we
Sure.
do everything from hygienic design, we do sanitation, we do pest control, which is one of my favorites, and then we also do GMPs as well. So that's those are the four aspects that we focus on, and we want to make sure that we are in compliance from a regulatory standpoint, but also we treat what we do as if we're preparing foods for our own families, our own kids, right? So
Sure.
it's there's no excuse for nothing but the best and the highest quality, which is what we aim to provide and constantly, reiterate for those that we work with as well.
Can you teach someone or talk about the process if you've never been inside a food plant before, how, sanitation works, how many shifts, what's the responsibility, plastic, stainless steel, all kind of, there's so many different things, but from a 30,000, point view, can you teach someone the basics about, how a food sanitation works in a processing plant?
Jeff, I would love to, but every processing plant is different.
Yes.
So really, it's not so. I mean, you have to have that exposure personally in every environment that you go into. But I will say that in terms of sanitation in general,
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to be a line operator or a line senator, you better enjoy getting wet,
Okay.
dirty. It's
Yep.
not glamorous. But
Okay.
if you're, if something around process improvements or actually being able to see fruits of your labor is something that's exciting to you or that you really enjoy, then clearly I it's one of the reasons I fell in love with it. And every level of sanitation for me warrants the largest level of respect. I don't care if you're a janitor or if you are, I don't know, a global lead in what we do, because we all play a super important role.
Right.
And I think what's unfortunately, I think people are misled when they think about sanitation and food manufacturing because
Okay.
they expect that it's just janitorial. They
Okay.
expect that it's just cleaning or cafeteria cleaning,
Mm-hmm.
which in its own right is critical to what we do as well. But
Correct.
it's so much more than that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you get to learn chemistry, you get to understand soil identification and which chemistry is going to be most impactful to eliminate any
Mm.
biofilms or anything going on. You're always looking, I'm looking out for my team, I'm looking out for the people out in the sites, and I'm always looking for the best technologies. I'm looking for what we can bring them to make their job easier and yet make sure that it's effective.
Can you talk a little bit about what technology might be exciting you or what you're seeing on the horizon or, what things are kind of, have revolutionized the industry or helped out? I know on the commercial cleaning side, there's a lot of focus on robots and UVC and electrostatic. Curious to
Sure.
understand from the, food sanitation side what, they're doing to try and push the technology or innovation forward.
Well, I can tell you not so much about the what technology is out there because that changes every day. But we do have some of our partners within the industry that'll be supportive of fabricating some things if we have innovative ideas,
Oh,
right? Maybe
great.
there's just a simple project that we would like to see come to fruition. I'm not going to give out the specifics, but for
Sure.
instance, overhead pipe cleaning. I mean, that's part of sanitation too, because that
Right.
often you have
Right.
overhead pipes right over zone
Yes.
one, which is where the food exposure is. So, instead of people getting up on ladders and doing the manual scrubbing and really putting the work and effort to getting that sometimes an oil buildup or, dust, whatever the task is. I worked with a smaller company that's very well known now. But I asked them, hey, what if we created some sort of overhead hoses, PVC piping, have some sort
Mm.
of spray bar, but yet that extends and that's expandable. And they said, well, let us play with it. And they came back and it was really, really cool. We were able
Oh,
to
that's
do
awesome.
a showcase and demonstrate. I mean, that's what we do. We try to be creative and figure out, again, find your challenging areas and let's tackle them. So
Right.
that was cool. Of course, I'm a huge fan of dry
Mm.
steam, whether it's using the nozzles or if it's a belt cleaning system. Of course, every technology has its purpose, so there's
Sure.
not really a one size fits all. But anything you can bring to the teams out there and let them do hands-on demonstrations of whatever it is and get them excited. Every time that you introduce something that'll excite somebody, it's contagious and people
Yes.
want to learn more and they want to do more and they find their job reinvigorating. So that's what we try to do. My whole team feels the same way. It's something that we like to do.
That's awesome. Talk a little bit about hygienic design. That's an
Mhm.
important, and we talk about different aspects. How
Mhm.
important is it? Location of, obviously the steam, where it's coming from, how you set up. Is that, you know, are you consulted on if you guys are putting on a new line or addition or moving? How much importance is hygienic design when it comes to, cleaning, Q&A, food sanitation?
Yeah, that's a great question. In Mondelez, we have so many layers and so many cross-functional teams that
Okay,
it's never a one-person show. It's engineers will partner with corporate quality, which will partner with sanitation, and in my role, I'm the SME, so the subject matter expert.
good.
But then we also have a global hygienic design lead. Also,
Oh, wow.
that's located out of the U.S. and that individual is my counterpart. So we definitely have the resources to go to. We follow the industry standards, and sometimes we can even challenge that to even go above and beyond industry standards.
Oh, wow.
So no stone unturned, okay, and lots of hand holding and also lots of alignment to ensure that we're doing the right thing and following all the right ways of doing
Protocols.
things.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Talk about some skill sets. What you see someone maybe who could be successful going from a supervisor to a manager to obviously a global sanitation. What sort of skill sets? What have you seen? You've obviously been doing it and managing, large groups of people and been doing it. What do you think it takes to
Yeah.
be successful in the sanitation industry?
Thank you for asking me that question. This is a really good question, and I get it a lot. And one of the things that I truly believe in is it's not about what you know; it's about how much you enjoy learning.
Mm,
Okay, so when I look for someone on my team, and let me just talk about my team real quick. So I have a fabulous team.
yes.
Every single one of my team members brings something to the table to contribute to our group and our group's success. Okay. I have one gentleman who is integrated Lean Six Sigma guru,
Wow.
done a lot of project startups, not a whole lot of not a lot of knowledge of pest control and sanitation, understands policies. Um, so what a fabulous part of my team to be able to bring that to the table and teach all of
Sure.
us about those principles. I have another individual that loves hygienic design. I have another individual that loves researching. Well, who doesn't need a researcher? We
Y-
love that.
Yes.
My personal passion is around pest control and entomology. So it's something that, I have three kids and I always try to introduce new types of insects. And,
Yes.
and I have an 8-year-old that absolutely will find something and bring it to me and say, what is it? Let's look it up. And that's so important to me because I think that it's interesting. We don't want these unwanted pests in our facilities, but there is
Right.
a level of respect for what they are and learning about them and their habitats and understanding their habits, correct?
Correct.
So that way you know the best approach when handling them or mitigating them. Um, so I have another individual that's reporting to me that is directly out of a sanitation manager role. I have a sanitation leader
Mm,
role that's come into the corporate function as a senior scientist. None of them have, some of them, but not all of them have that robust understanding and working knowledge of what sanitation is all about. But they have
mm,
enough, and they have
mm.
enough to come to me to say, look, I may not be your number one, person to get out there and fix all of the issues, but I certainly want to be a part of what you're doing. I want to be a part of that journey and I want to make a difference.
Huh.
And when I say a difference, it's not about the industry, it's about sanitation. Like, how can we do things differently? Sanitation provides that creativity level that you're probably not going to get in other roles or functions, because we're all about troubleshooting, and that's what we
Right.
do. Yeah.
That's amazing. Can you talk a little bit about the Alliance for Advanced Sanitation? I was really interested in that and in the role, mind sharing between other, large
Mhm.
manufacturing, other people throughout your industry that share the same interests. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that and, if people want to get involved or, ways of listening and having conversations with like-minded individuals like yourself.
Absolutely. So this is an organization that we have not cross functions, but we have, as you said, we have people from other large companies within food manufacturing, and we can get together and we can brainstorm and talk about common concerns that we have or new things that we're seeing that we can maybe support one another on. I would love to set you up with Angela, who is currently the director, and she's creating this non for profit organization, just to bring awareness about food safety and
Yes.
sanitation to
Yes.
to the industry. If you haven't met her already, she's amazing, and I can provide you
Yes.
that information and contact.
Would
But
love that.
absolutely, it's something that is still in progress. We're trying to gain that momentum. But it's something that including myself, all of the active participants are very passionate about.
Great.
Let's talk about this as a team and kind of look at it more of a team approach versus us being in our own silos. And of course, we need to respect what we can and cannot talk about, but we all have the same mission.
Yes. Talk about, and it's the 100-pound gorilla right now, COVID-19. how
Yeah.
it affected your team, not protocols. I know we have certain things we can discuss, but,
Right.
what was it a challenge? Obviously, trying to keep people healthy, safe on the line,
Hmm.
mentality, everyone, you know, did you get more phone calls with Irene? Did she call you personally and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Talk a little bit about, um, how was that within the company, and how are they now with, we're turning the corner hopefully, and mindset are dealing with that.
So Irene is not the CEO anymore.
Oh,
It's Dirk Vandeput. Yeah.
yeah, sorry. So
So
don't tell
Dirk,
Jerk.
yes, you might
Yeah.
want to edit that
Yes.
part out.
Yes. I'll add
um,
in Jerk.
yeah, we clearly, COVID is going to be a disruption to everybody. It stopped the world in its tracks. For me, what was really interesting is I have, North America and Latin America, but I have two other counterparts out there. One is over EMEA, which is, Asia, Middle East, and Australia. And then I also have my counterpart in Europe, which is MEU. So not only is it important for me to stay on top of the CDC and the government guidelines and everything going on, the World Health Organization,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of new information coming down the pipeline constantly. And my team and I were always listening to the news, looking at the different websites and trying to bring the most, accurate information, especially when you're talking about COVID and the virus, how long it survives on a surface area,
Mm-hmm.
what that
Right.
means, what is the airborne environmental air, around you, how safe are we, and what are our guidelines going to be. So we were learning just like everyone else. But
Wow.
as I'm doing
Hmm.
this for my
Interesting.
my region, the other regions are doing just the same.
Yes.
So, over in EMEA region, I mean, I felt like they were ahead of us, but we also knew that it was going to be coming in waves, and we need to also be prepared. And
Wow.
now it's still ongoing discussions every
Mm-hmm.
single week with myself and my team to ask, what's going on? How's COVID? How are you guys doing? Is everyone safe? And unfortunately, I've had some of my own team members who've lost family members or loved ones to COVID. So
That-
we don't take it lightly.
Good.
We wouldn't take it lightly. We have a lot of challenges. If you watch the news in Brazil, I'm very concerned about my team in
Mm-hmm.
Brazil. And I speak with the organization. I have monthly sanitation calls for North America and for Latin America specific, and I just urge everyone to do what's right and think of their safety and think of others around them. Let's be responsible, and let's be very
Yes.
diligent in making sure we're not spreading this. Yeah.
Agreed. Let's talk about being a woman and being in a leader position. I love this. I love to see, in
Okay.
work life, and having a family and balance. I mean, it's a challenge. So love to hear your perspective, advice to other women who are looking at, becoming the next leader at, family, and how do you do it all, Devon?
I have a supportive husband.
Great.
Honestly, I have to say that. My husband's also in food manufacturing for a different company, but he too, he knows the environment, he knows the industry, he knows the demands and the commitments that it takes, and we try to support one another while we can. I have an 8-year-old, I have a 14-year-old, and a 15-year-old currently, and it's easier now that they're getting older. But
Sure.
you got to put family first sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not always easy to do. I mean, my family comes first, and part of my family is also my team. So when it talks about safety, or, I don't want to overextend myself, but at the same time, sometimes it's necessary, and you have to be agile, you have to be
Sure.
flexible, and you have to remember what your priorities are. In terms of women in the industry, we have a huge, for Mondelez, we have a huge DNI. So diversity, inclusion, we have a lot of
Oh,
different things
great.
going on in terms of supporting women in the industry, supporting
Awesome.
people of color, supporting, just very, very, a number of different diverse groups. And so for me, it's not it's not a big thing to say, women growing in an industry. I think there's ample opportunity. I
Mm-hmm.
really truly do. These days, I think everybody's got the opportunity. You just have to perform your best and do your best. And you
Yes.
have to take ownership of your own development. And you need to know where you want to go within any organization. And I'm a true believer in that.
And in terms of, you know, uh, recognition, obviously Mondelez has a large name in the marketplace. Can
Hmm.
you pick up the phone or do you talk to some of the other manufacturers? Do you guys have, I know outside of Lions, but do you use, the relationships to share information among, manufacturers and issues, or how, is that because obviously Amandalis, the name opens a lot of doors for, getting things done or dealing with vendors. If you're at a small, poultry plant, you'd probably have a little bit more of less resources. Let's say that. Has that been easier or a challenge? Is there more red tape or?
I think it's the individual. For me, I'm a very determined person. So
Hmm.
I think whether I worked for Arista, work for Mondelez, if I work for a mom and pop shop, I'm going to call whoever I need to get whatever it is that I need to, to continue business or whatever the purpose is. Um, I don't know. I don't feel as though working for Mondelez opens up those doors so
Okay.
much. It's just the person, I've been in this industry for so long that I have people that are welcome to call me if they have questions or they're looking for advice or my thoughts, and that's fine.
That's great.
Um, the platform like the Alliance is great because that puts us on a call where we can all talk openly and say,
Hmm.
okay, gosh, what are you guys seeing in terms of this, or how is this impacting you? And it's a very nice network. I will say, especially around sanitation, because sanitation is not, you got to have the people who love being there. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, that's not going to be everybody. But
Right.
I feel that if you have, again, the same mission and the same passion and you're looking out for one another, I mean, it is a small network, a small family. And
Yes.
we want to help each other in any way that we can.
Can you talk a little bit about, on the sanitation side, dealing with the FDA or USDA and how that, works? Because I don't know if people understand that there are inspectors that go around throughout the U.S. that
Hmm.
they inspect food plants. That
Yeah.
there can be violations, and obviously those need to be addressed. And what that process is, so people get that there are numerous in industries out there help checking, ensuring that our food is safe for the public and how that kind of works.
Yeah. So we have an entire regulatory outfit that'll handle, the inspectors. But I will say that you're right. I mean, we get unannounced audits just like everyone else, and our job is to ensure audit preparedness and readiness. We shouldn't do anything different because there's an auditor on site, and
Mm-hmm.
we all work really hard to ensure documentation is in place. You know. Verification, validation records of what we're doing, what we're saying we're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
we're very comfortable with that because we have the right teams in place to ensure that that's going on.
Yeah, so those who are listening understand the USDA, FDA will have inspectors that will go around to various food processing plants, and they have certain rules, regulations, and they will inspect. And obviously, someone will take them around and look at all the processes and verify different swabs so that, again, for the public safety, they know that Mondelez or whatever food processing plant is following those strict guidelines,
Exactly right. Yeah.
which is always, fun when you deal. I remember we were at some smaller processing plants, and the inspector comes in, and people go crazy, and I think, like you said, when you have a regulatory and you're used to things, and but it's a peace of mind for the public to understand that inspectors might get a bad name, but they're there to try and keep everyone safe.
It's just another form of auditing,
Right.
and in making sure it's just another level of reassurance. And that's really what it is. So, we have our own internal auditing teams. We have GFSI auditors that also do the same type of governance. So, again, it's you just got to make sure that you're following the rules, and that's what we do. I mean, that's what our jobs are.
Right. And in sanitation, if you haven't been
Mm-hmm.
in a facility, things are color coded. There's stainless steel, plastic. They use blue vinyl gloves. So if someone on the line, the glove would, get into some sort of food contamination. There's all different ways. So those people that are listening out there, recommend or check out on YouTube or take a tour when you can one day of a food plant because it's amazing in the
It is. It's
cleanliness and
incredible.
the
Yes.
and the way that it's kept clean and the protocols and the different things and obviously COVID changes some things, but it's pretty remarkable how food is made. That Oreo that you get at the store that's at your house, the and we were just talking about this before then, the amount of work that goes into it is a lot. And hopefully people recognize and appreciate, and especially during the shortage and there's challenges. I'm sure you guys ramped up and
Hmm.
hit a lot during the grocery period, which is obviously
Hmm.
a challenge. So, love to
Yeah.
one thing talk about microbial pathogen mitigation. I know this
Sure.
is
What would you
a
What would you like to
hot
know?
topic. Talk about how places swab, or if you guys swab, and what are some pathogens? Obviously, salmonella, listeria. You hear about those things. Should people be scared? Should people understand how cleaning and trust, obviously, the products put out? Or can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. I'm not going to go into specifics because each plant has their own protocols around
Sure.
that. But yes, we test randomly, but yet I can't really say randomly, but we test often. We have
Got it.
recurring frequencies where we will test for pathogen or for any type of micro growth, and that's part of our cleaning verification process. So once we clean, we will swab to ensure that there's no residue, there's nothing there that we don't see with our physical eye. And that's how we ensure our effectiveness when we do clean. So I don't think, I don't think anyone should be scared. I think people should be able to trust that we're doing the right thing to keep them safe.
Yeah,
Does that
within
make sense?
obviously a food manufacturing facility, humidity,
Mm-hmm.
climate, dust, like you talked about. There's so many things, and the level of cleanliness when you walk into a food facility, the swabs, and I mean they're really doing above and beyond. And I know technology is involved, but to really keep those plants pristine. I would say hospital, clean room, cleanliness is amazing. And that's what I love about the crossover between the swabbing that they typically do in healthcare and now is becoming so much more apparent, as well as what you guys do in food processing is really trying to understand, what's on the surface, what's the pathogen. Because on the commercial cleaning side, if it looks clean, it's clean. Well, we all know that might not be the case. I mean, there's bacteria, germs, pathogens, especially COVID now, on the surface. So, how do we continue to monitor those things? And I think that's really exciting. So, really, one last question for you is in terms of team building, how do you continue to stay, as a global leader, that communication? Do you guys have a lot of weekly meetings, monthly? You go out and see sites. How does that work? Because being a global leader versus, I'm sanitation manager at, a local poultry plant, obviously has some different responsibilities. So, we'd love to hear about kind of the team and how you guys all work together on a global basis.
Sure. So my immediate team, I have a team connect once a week, which is, just to check in, make sure everyone's good, see if anyone needs any help or support, if anyone has questions about a specific category or a process. And then I do individual one-on-ones with my team members each week,
Great.
which are one of my favorite connects. And sometimes they're longer than others, and it just depends on what's going on. And again, where support is needed or whatever the relevant topics are for that moment. We do our regional calls, as I've mentioned. So we do our monthly calls for North America. We'll do a monthly call with my team and all of the plants and the sanitation leads, the corporate functions. Everybody's allowed to come to our calls,
Oh,
and we
great.
do a lot of, a lot of it is just about what's going on or what's well, maybe we're trialing. We do a lot of site presentations where we allow people to get the platform and just showcase what they're working on in terms of sanitation, pest control, hygienic design, or GMP work. We have it's really a sharing um, moment. So we have that
That's
time
great.
allocated for everyone to be able to talk. Um, we also do just ongoing amounts of training.
Oh, I
So we
bet.
do
Yeah.
webinars, we do, just instructor led sessions. We do so much of that. We also have a quarterly newsletter that we send out to the
Oh.
entire organization that's
Hmm.
interactive. Um, we we try to keep sanitation in the front. We want people to recognize sanitation as a place that's fun to work,
Sure.
that people want to work. And then, even aside from that, I'll share with you just a couple weeks ago, my direct report here in Chicago and I went out to College of DuPage and we spoke with culinary students
Oh,
about
awesome.
sanitation professions. So we were in class, yes, and we were able to share some video, then some footage that we put together as my team did, that we've shared with our previous interns, right?
Oh,
That
wow.
was for RDQ interns last year. So that was an incredible experience.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great.
one of one of the things that I'm really excited about and a little bit worried about is, with automation coming on and how
Mm-hmm.
industries change so
Mm-hmm.
quickly and they continuously evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't want sanitation to become a scarce commodity out there. It's
Got
already
it.
difficult when you're trying to
Mm.
find if there's an opening in sanitation, again, knowing that it's not perceived as this glamorous role, you're not going to
Right.
get the interest that perhaps, other careers may attract.
Sure.
So, so I want to shed light on what it really is and allow people the opportunity just to understand it. Whether they want to go into it or not, there's no pressure. But this is what it is, and this is what it's all about. And in my mind, anyone in food safety and sanitation, anyone that's into even microbiology, sanitation's really a great career, and they just have to know it's there and know what it's about.
Yeah, and I think as the U.S. continues to grow and as more and more food processing plants and manufacturing and different facilities open up, I mean, the endless opportunities. Obviously, you work hard and the ability, and it's probably a small knit community where people talk. And as openings open up,
Mhm.
there's opportunities, and you guys can network, among yourselves. And I think there's always people who are striving to show interest in the industry who want to stay in it long term. I'm sure there's, the ability to provide mentorships and learn from people who might be at some of the larger organizations.
Absolutely. So I tried to give my team exposure to that as well, and to be able to go out there and promote sanitation careers, not because they have to, but it's something that they too are interested in doing. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting to, and that's part of the reason that I'm involved with the alliance right now. It's really just to bring the knowledge and the awareness out there. And I always tell people, give it a shot, and if it's not something that you're crazy about, then it's not for you. It's okay. But you do have options once you get to any point of a sanitation career. If you're a supervisor in sanitation, you can be a supervisor in production. You can be a supervisor because you're already leading people.
Right.
So you just because you come into sanitation doesn't mean you're locked in. Again, you have to be able to take control of your own development and your own career and decide what it is you want. But I certainly think that a lot more people would love sanitation if they were exposed to it or had that opportunity. I just know they would be.
Yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm.
unique field, that's for sure.
Yeah.
One last question. How about
Sure.
working the second and third shift doing sanitation? The challenges, I think we have as a cleaning industry, a lot of it is done at night, late at night, having the mentality or to be excited and show up that it's your job and unfortunately, some of the hours are late. They're the overnight
Hmm.
shift or the swing shift. A lot of the cleaning's done. So, love to get your perspective on, how you made it through maybe some of those shifts and, what you've learned from that time.
I learned a whole new appreciation for folks that have to work on the night shift.
Yes.
I I did that for years. I
Yep.
did, and I have to tell you, I'm one of the people that kind of enjoyed it because I felt like everyone else
Mm,
was sleeping, and I could be out there and get productive and do what I need to do, and it just worked for me. It's not for everybody. I mean,
sure.
sometimes people really, even from a mental perspective, their mental health may be impacted by the different shift and change in times.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I liked it. It was great when my kids were young because I would put them to bed and I'd go to work and then I'd be home before they woke up and they wouldn't even miss me, which was great.
Yeah, that
Uh,
is great.
Now, even now, if there are opportunities for me to go on to visit a site and it's third shift, I would absolutely have no hesitation of doing that. I mean, it's cleaning and it's still fun and it's still really cool for me to
Yes.
watch. But I do want to share too that often cases now, at least within Mondelez, most of our cleaning is actually on first shift.
Really?
And it's
Wow.
scheduled that way intentionally because you have resources. You have maintenance there, you
Yes.
have managers there, you have, the safety managers around if anything should go wrong. So there's
Sure.
been a lot of shift in not necessarily having to schedule third shift. Now,
Oh,
if you
wow.
have a meat facility or something that has to be cleaned every day and every night, a pizza facility, for instance, you're going to have the daily cleaning in
Sure.
the evenings usually.
Yes.
But when it's all risk based, and that's going to determine your cleaning frequencies, and then of course you have your scheduled volume, and then it falls where it does. But yeah, so that's something that I will say has changed over my career.
Oh,
It used to
wow.
be
That's
third
great.
shift all the
Yes.
time,
I know
or
it's a challenge.
weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's, again, you have to remain flexible and you got to try it. If you don't know until you try it. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then that's okay. But at least you'll get
Yes.
that new respect, and you'll also
Right.
be able to understand what people are doing in order to produce that safe food.
Yeah, which is, I think, and again, I wanted to say thank you. I mean, the amount of cleaning that has been done and to, work in this environment, I think is admirable. I love your story. I really
Thank
appreciate you
you.
coming on, Devon, and really enlightening people and teaching them more. If it's okay with you, if people are interested, if they'd like to reach out to you via LinkedIn. But, again, being a resource and going through some of those challenges is great. And I loved your story. And hopefully everyone enjoyed listening today. So just want to say thank you again. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. This has been such a joy for me. And anytime I can talk about sanitation, if you're in my circle, you know that I'll take advantage of that. So thank you so much. And honestly, I really appreciate what you're doing. And thanks for allowing us to talk about sanitation today.
Of course. Thanks again, Devin. Have a great day.
Super cool. Okay. Bye bye. Thank you.
Thanks.